All right, hello? I can never tell if this is working. If people can hear me, say a thing. Ah, thanks, Cleric K. Cleric K. Hello. Okay, great. I'm just gonna assume you guys can hear me. Hello everyone. I'm gonna be painting this Dreadknight tonight, which I'm really excited about. Um, I love Dreadknights, and Dreadknights are so good nowadays, which is excellent. Oh, look at all the people saying hello! Yay! Um, yeah, Dreadknights are excellent nowadays, and so I'm really stoked to get painting this one. There's the neighbor's dog making that noise again. Yeah. So as you can tell, I've already started painting it. This camera, I'm trying to, really doesn't like this kind of lighting. Yeah, I had to actually spent like an hour trying to open it up and adjust the lens so that it stops focusing. And I did it, but just going to be temperamental tonight. Anyway, as you can see, I've already started painting it. I got the lead belcher onto the armor plates, and then I also did lead. I did iron warriors on all of the like gears and joints and pistons and things. Then I went over the gears and joints and pistons, all the machinery, I guess, with Agrix, and I went over the armor with Drakenhof, and now it's dark blue, which is not where I want it to be. So I'm going to dry brush with lead belcher. Who's all here? Oh, Talon Harthorn. And Matthew Ellinger. Hello, Matthew Ellinger. Let me know if that tiny dog barking in the background is annoying, and I will close my window but it is very hot, so I'm keeping the windows open at the moment. Okay. I need to paint my Dreadknight, but I got Croxigores and I want to paint more. For someone who doesn't paint 40K, I absolutely adore Croxigores. I painted a couple for my Tau a few years back, and I loved them. They are super fun models. That might sound confusing. I say I've painted some for my Tau. All of my Tau are dinosaurs. They're all Seraphon. All right. So yeah, just preparing dry brush, getting most of the paint off, but leaving on some still. I'm just gonna take my dry brush with some lead belcher and just go over all the armor plates. I'm gonna avoid the machinery though, because I don't want to ruin what I've already done. I'm just gonna be very delicate with it. Even less paint on there. So I'm gonna be very light with it because I want to keep the Drakenhof in the nightshade, or the Drakenhof in the nightshade. I want to keep the Drakenhof in the recesses, just to get that silver sheen back on top of it. Hey, I'm getting ready to paint my Grey Knights. Is there anything you would change from your old paint video? That's a good question. My technique is always, I don't want to say always improving. It's always changing. I have learned a few things recently. I've started to paint my eyes differently, and I've settled on a force sword like technique. But I guess that video didn't really talk about force swords. But you'll see what I mean with my force swords in a minute once I get all this silver done. But yeah, I've switched up my eye technique, which I'll also talk about later when I do this little guy's eyes. I'm always trying to, every time I paint, I try to do something different, like just a little bit. Even if it's not something big or something that other people notice, I try to do something I haven't done before or something I've only done a couple times, just so that I make sure with each model I improve just a little bit. Joseph Buchanan, there you are. Haven't heard, you haven't been as vocal on the channel lately. I was worried something happened. How is the Bonk Brigade coming along? Travis says. They when they get where they want to be, they do great. They do excellently. They actually served me really well in that tournament I did. But I played a game against Death Guard recently. Actually, that game's coming up on the channel tomorrow. And they did not do great. They did poorly, in fact. It's just kind of a 260 points sort of thrown down the board and then just left. What's everybody painting tonight? Assuming people are painting as well. I just assumed this would be like a paint hangout where everybody's painting, and I don't know why I assumed that. Painting some buildings. That's cool. Terrain is always really fun for me because it's quick to do sometimes, and you can really see the effect on the battlefield. I'm working on my Rogue Trader Harlequins right now. Rogue Trader Harlequins? That's a fun series of words put together. Strike Squad's solid. Oh, there he is. Okay, great. Somebody said something about an airbrush. Harry Barnes says to use an airbrush. I'm going to talk about airbrushes for a minute. I think airbrushes are an excellent tool, and I think that airbrushes look fantastic. Like when not the airbrush itself, but I mean like the airbrush effect looks fantastic. Uh, Absolutely love it. Uh, it's just such a pain in the ass to use, and I know it's technically like easier and quicker, but the whole apparatus, you got to make sure you're ventilated. You got to make sure you've set everything up. You got all your hoses and all everything. I don't do a ton of like this kind of thing where I sit down and paint for hours at a time. I typically paint for maybe, I mean, I'll do that every now and then. I'll have like long paint sessions, but typically I'll find like a half an hour in the day and I'll do a few details or I'll do a few like some washes or something or a coat on some marines. And I just kind of paint whenever I have the time. And an airbrush is such an apparatus, such a thing to set up. It looks beautiful, but it's just I find myself just sort of frustrated and annoyed whenever I have to actually like go about getting my airbrush all like set up and ready to go. So I airbrush my what are they called? Exorcists. I airbrush my exorcists, the base coat there, but that's it. Beyond that, I don't do anything else. I find that it's more satisfying to paint with a brush anyway. I actually enjoy painting with a brush. Which isn't to say that anybody like who wants to use airbrushes strongly recommend, but it's just not. It's just too much of a hassle for me. I feel the same way about airbrushes that I feel about magnets. Can't wait for 5 Dreadknights, all equipped with hammers, to accompany the Bonk Squad. Wouldn't that be ridiculous? Hammers are actually cheaper than swords nowadays, which makes sense. The swords are so good, which is why I gave this gentleman a sword. I agree with Moto Journey. Joseph, your comments are always super appreciated on my channel, so don't ever feel like you need to hold back. I love every time you comment. You were one of my first followers, and I remember I would look forward to your comments on every single video for a couple months there. This process is just especially going back to airbrushes like this process. I really enjoy just this sort of like light kind of like making the silver shine a little bit more. It's really satisfying to me, and I don't know. You can't really like watch anything like a show or something while you're airbrushing because unless I guess you have headphones, you can just use headphones to fix that problem. But it's again more equipment. It's more stuff, which is just to me. I like the quickness and accessibility and just like relaxed nature of using a brush. A pair of swag dogs. That's awesome. You they almost one shot a knight. Did you happen to get empiric amplification off so the hammers were doing 4 damage? There we go. I'm being very light with this. I want to make sure I'm not getting into all the crevices and recesses and stuff because again, I want to allow that Drakenhof to do its thing, which is why I took time and actually put it on there. But I'm making sure I go over everything once with this, leaving the machinery untouched by the light silver. The seventh column. Is that a Destiny reference? I always see that. Are the rumors true? Is it possible Renegades and Heretics will get some love in White Dwarf Index or something? Yeah. Okay. Great. Excellent. It is a Destiny Bungie reference. Lovely. I've heard Shax shout that a couple times to me, so glad to hear it. The rumor that I'm currently hearing, and please somebody correct me if I'm wrong, is that Renegade Guard is going to be wrapped up into the next Chaos Space Marines Codex. That's the one that I'm hearing floating around. Don't quote me on that, but that's just the one that I'm hearing. I don't know if it has any legs, but that's what people are saying. Which would be cool. I mean, my brother can just sort of keep his whole keep his all of his armies in like one or two books. There we go. That's starting to look the way I want it to. But yeah, Halo more so, James Stepanek says. I haven't man, I'm excited for Halo Infinite because I haven't picked up a Halo game in years. I was real disappointed with Halo 4. It just didn't feel like Halo to me. And I know some people liked it, but it just wasn't my jam. So I am excited for Halo Infinite to actually it looks like it's getting back to Halo roots, and I'm really stoked about that. Jumping around Blood Gulch with my friends in Warthogs and blasting each other plasma grenades. Man, Halo was such a good time. All right, I think we've got all the lead belcher we want on here. Chris Homanek, I stopped playing in ODST. God, ODST was such a good game. Did you stop playing because of ODST, or did you stop playing after ODST? Because I loved ODST. It was so weird compared to the other Halo games, but I absolutely loved it. You and your brother are hilarious together. Such good chemistry. Thanks. Yeah, I love having him on the channel. I try to every video he's in. I try to begin the video with him saying something disparaging or sarcastic at me, and I think it translates very well. All right. Yeah. So, oh man, it's having a hard time with the shininess of the camera. Let's see if we can. Well, the lead belcher is done. So now we're gonna go to where is my Grey Knight Steel? I have all of my paints sitting up on my rack here, and not in any sort of order, not alphabetic, not by color. Is this? No. So give me a second. I need to find my Grey Knight Steel somewhere. Or failing that, Necron Compound. Halo 5 would have been a good game if it were not a Halo game. Yeah. I feel the same way about Mass Effect Andromeda. That would have been an awesome game if it weren't Mass Effect. Would have absolutely loved that game if it were just a new IP. Oops. Where is my... I swear I have a bottle of Grey Knight Steel somewhere. Found it. Would love to know more about your feelings about the Codex. You alluded to it feeling like you have less creative options. Any more thoughts on that? Yeah, I'm kind of getting out of the honeymoon phase with the Codex, I think. I still like it. I still like it a lot, but I have thoughts. It feels like there's less tricks for me to do, if that makes sense. Things like there are still some fun stuff, but it might also just be, I don't know. It might be me missing missing dynamic insertion a lot because it allowed me so much flexibility. But yeah, I'm gonna make a video soon. I'm actually sitting down with gentleman, Grey Knight Dude on YouTube. We're gonna do a little video about what we think post honeymoon phase of the Codex. Sometime in the next few weeks, I should be able to give my thoughts on that. John Turner, just painted my first model from Warhammer. Oh, yay! What did you paint? Chose Grey Knights because of your tutorial. That's awesome. I'm excited to hear what you painted. All right, so I'm taking the Grey Knight steel and I'm only going to do the like tops, like where the light's hitting, and just a very, very light dry brush just to get that like nice shine to it so that most of it stays that kind of dark still, but just want to get that nice reflective sheen to it, to certain parts of it on the fingertips just to give them more. Yeah, I like that. And there we go. Oops, that's just my hand and thing. Weird question, but is he your younger brother? That's the vibe I get from him. Yeah, Graham is my younger brother. Yes, not a weird question at all. He is definitely the younger brother. Of, and you will do. It's good that you pick up on that because we definitely have that energy together. It'd be weird if he was my older brother, just because of the way he whines at me. So yeah, this Granite's steel is really just making the distinction between. You can kind of see right there, maybe. The light's too bright, but you can you'll see it later when I take some pictures of it. That it's really making the distinction between the armor and the machinery really important. Which the whole thing is like a silver, so you really want to kind of have a strong distinction between which silver is purposeful silver and which silver is just like silver because it's machinery. And again, I'm only doing it on the tops here. Make sure I get this guy. John Turner. Oh, that's awesome to hear. I'm glad. Terminators are great. I'm still painting Terminators all of the time. I just wrote a list for my next game, actually. It's all Terminators. I'm running 5 units of Terminator, like Brotherhood Terminator squads as troops. I'm running 3 characters, and I'm running a 10-man Paladin squad, and that's the entire list. So it's just going to be, what is that? 35, 38 Terminators is the whole list, including the characters. There we go, just getting the shine there. Can't stay late, but I have confident that gonna be beautiful, bro. Oh, Cadman, hey, thank you. Oh, you pressed the button works. Cool. I had no idea. That's awesome. I'm glad to see that. YouTube doesn't let me know when those kinds of things function, so I'm glad to hear that. Well, thank you, Cadwin. Confidence that gonna be a beautiful boy. Thank you. There we go. So down here on the legs and everything, I'm going to keep that darker silver. Just going to do a little bit on the edges to kind of, again, make that distinction between the machinery and the armor. Yeah, that's actually really, I'm really liking how that looks. There we go. There we go. A little bit on the toes, not too much. Okay. Yeah. All right. So that is the armor aspect of that done. I cheated. I did a lot of it before the stream just so I didn't have to sit here watching all of the shades dry. But that's the armor done. So now I'm moving on to details, which is my second favorite part. My favorite part is shading. I never know why shading is my absolute favorite thing about this hobby, but it just feels good to throw these shades on there. But yeah, I'm going to go into details because of the way paint water works, and I'm really lazy. It's got all I've used a metallic. I've used a lot of metallics recently, so my paint water is all filled with all the little metal sprinkles from it. So I'm going to do all the metallics right now before moving on to non-metallics, because then I don't have to go change my water. You don't want to use regular pigments with metallic pigments. It's going to be terrible. I'm also currently painting my second squad of GK Terminators. I'm using Vallejo paints primarily, so I had to experiment with the paints I had on. I hear Vallejo's great. I've honestly never used them. Love the raised swords on the Dreadknight and the Grey Knight. Oh yeah, isn't it fun? I put a sword in his hand as well, which yeah, it kind of works because the whole idea is they're like psychically controlling these rather than actually like having like a steering wheel or anything. He's got the little remote in his hand, but mostly it's controlled by his motion. So I try to I always try whenever I'm building my Dread Knights, I always try to match the leg pose of the guy and the Dread Knight itself, and then the arms. I try to match them as well. So I figured I'd go one step further and put the sword up. We'll see how that goes. Enjoying some Woodenville tonight, by the way. Yeah, so we're gonna do metallics. Actually, no, I lied about that. We're not gonna do metallics. We're gonna do the sword next, because I'm gonna have to do metallics around the sword, and I don't want to just go over that and then have to clean it and do it again. So I'm going to quickly change out my paint water, and I'll be right back. John Turner, well, I gotta hop off. Looking forward to watching your videos in the future. Maybe YouTube account just to subscribe, lol. Oh, thanks. That's so nice. Oh, that makes me feel good. All right, I'll be 2 seconds. I'm gonna go change my paint water. Okay. Cheaper than Citadel paints. That's a good one. Not as bad as Army Painter, he says. Oh boy, yeah. I recently bought. Where is it? I don't have the box anymore. But I recently, Mox was out of Citadel metallics that I needed, so I recently bought like a cheap box of Army Painter metallics, and I'm gonna use them soon. I might do a review video of them. Who knows? But I haven't had great experience with Army Painter in the past, so we'll see. They did come with metal balls to help them shake around easier, which is nice. But who knows? All right. So I lied. We're not going to be doing. We're not going to be doing the metallics next. We're going to move straight on to the Force Sword. Turkey Pipes. Oh, hi. How you doing, man? It's good to see you. Moto Journey. Turkey Pipes has an army. He technically has some corn demons. All right. So just real quick, how my whole Force Sword thing works. It's just these 4 paints. That's it. And I'm going to be layering them and blending them throughout this. I'm going to do the entire blade in Techless Blue. Then I'm going to mix Techless Blue and Calidor Sky together and do half the blade. Then I'm going to do even less with just Calidor Sky, even less with Calidor Sky and Macragge, even less with Macragge, and then I'm going to do some highlights with Ceramite. If that doesn't make sense, you'll see as we go along. But it's a lot of slow blending, and the first step is Techless Blue all over the blade. Army Painter inks are nice, but that's about it. I've never used any of their inks. I'm just such a fan of Citadel's washes. They're so good. Again, I'm a big fan of doing washes, but I think that Citadel's washes might be their best paint that they make. Here, we're gonna use this bigger guy. Hey, it's Ocho. How you doing, man? Yes, it is a baby carrier indeed. This video going to be uploaded to Pair of Swag Dogs? Yes, it will. This will be watchable afterwards with all the commentary too, so everybody's going to be able to see the words on there. Yeah, so I'm going to thin this down a ton, and I'm going to do 3 or 4 coats with it. So this will take me a minute. This is the longest part of doing the blades, is just doing the whole thing. So bear with me while I do this. Baby carrier with a 4-up. Yeah, Dreadknights are so good now, and I'm real happy for it because they were real bad for a very long time. It's crazy how something as simple as giving them a 4-up invult and change that. All right, so I'm going to be really thin this down. Whenever I watch a painting video, people often say the consistency of milk. I have no idea what that looks like. The consistency of milk, is that different from the consistency of water? Maybe, I guess, but I don't know what the consistency of milk looks like. Am I there now? I have no idea. An airbrush makes it way faster. It does, Ocho. And if you'd been here a few minutes ago, you would have heard my rant against airbrushing. Nothing's wrong with airbrushing. It's just not for me. don't enjoy it. And for me, painting is a joyful thing. All right, let's get a couple of layers of this on here. Go get milk and put it on your palate. It's a really good exercise. I can't tell if you're joking or not. I've never been able to tell if you're joking or not. I've never had anybody watch me paint before, so this is very nerve-wracking, and I feel like everyone's just judging me. But I know that's not happening because you're all kind folks. Skimmed milk is water that's lying about being milk. Agreed. That was a good show. Okay, and then we can't forget your sword, little man. I've never painted a force sword as big as this, so that'll be interesting. I have, but I used an airbrush for my last Dreadknight's sword, and it looks great. Again, airbrushes are excellent. They're fast. They're great. I just don't enjoy using them. Okay, gonna let that dry for just a moment. That dude sure has a lot of metallic stuff on. Is this going to be all metallic paints? Honestly, mostly. Once I get through the details with cloth and the reds and the whites and stuff, it'll pop a lot more and it'll look a lot less metally. But yeah, gray knights are. I've seen some NMN stuff, NMN stuff, non-metallic metal stuff. NMM. There we go. That's right. Stuff where people make them gray and then actually do like a fake sort of metallic thing that looks really good. But I'm not there yet. So yeah, this guy's going to have a lot of metallic on him. So let that dry for a minute. Enjoy some whiskey. I paint not for joy, but only to strike fear into the hearts of my enemies. It works. I have nightmares about red and black and orange and yellow now, Moto Journey, because of your tank that carries all the fire dragons. Did Dreadknights getting buffs beside their shiny new invuln? The reason people are using a lot of them is because they're relatively cheap for what they do. They're hefty, they do a lot of damage, and they're kind of hard to kill. Oops, unfocused. Focus back camera. There you go. Good job. But yeah, a lot of people are using them a lot now, which I appreciate. I think they're super cool. Just paint wise, model wise, and lore wise, I love Dreadknights. Gonna keep letting that dry. I'm gonna not be impatient about that. As Jay, hey, both Psyche and Silencer got +1 strength. That's true, and the swords do a lot now. All right, let's think of something we can do in the meantime while this while the paint is drying. Oops, there's a puddle on there. Make sure that's not globbing too much. Perfect. In the meantime, we're going to. What's the best thing we can do now? I don't want to do any more metallics because again, my paint water is going to be all messed up. And I don't want to do reds because red will also muddy up the water. Maybe white. Any tips on how to repose the Nemesis Dreadknight? Yes, just start hacking at it. The legs on the typical model are straight. I have cut out the joints there and cut the hoses back there, and then just took it all apart and glued it in the direction that I want. Just start cutting. Don't be afraid. It's going to. You can glue any parts that you screw up back together. Do you ever paint the black-white halves on Depths Mechanicus emblems like the one on the Dreadknight's back? You know what? I'm gonna do that with this one. I hadn't even considered that. Like, I always do them like a brass color. I am gonna do this one black and white. That's a great idea. Thanks, Eric Haas. Get a second cup of water. Yeah, that's really smart. I'm gonna get a cup of water. I'll be right back. Genius. We've got our second cup of water. All right, we're gonna set that one off to the side. Gotta have a clean and dirty cup of water. Yeah, that's smart. And then also an extra dirty cup of water. Okay. I'm almost ready for that second coat. So I'm going to start doing the, you know what? I will start doing the metallics with that second cup of water. We're going to start with gold. Everybody has different preferences on what type of gold they like to do. I am a big fan of Retributor armor. I used to do Auric, but I hate how Auric gold spreads and thins. It just looks terrible, and it always makes me sad when I use it. So I am strictly Retributor armor for my like nice golds. Where, man, if I had organized my paint for this, that would have been nice. All right, got it. Going to do LEDs in this one. You know my technical expertise. I spent an hour and a half trying to adjust the lens of this webcam today. So no, I'm not going to be doing LEDs into this Dreadknight. But if anybody wants to see how to put LEDs into your like tanks and stuff, go check out Ocha's channel. She's got some really good tutorial videos on there. All right, set this aside. Gold time. Okay. Retributor armor is a great gold. Makes Sanguinary Guard look like proper Angel Boys. Yeah, I love Retributor armor. Okay. Get some water. All right, got a nice thinned gold on our palette, and our palette today is a ceramic plate. Okay, let's start with these pads here. It's a good idea to run nothing but Terminators in a Dreadknight plus HQs for a 1,000-point army. Is it a good idea, he asks. I can't in good conscience say yes. I have run that list, and I love that list, and it's a ton of fun, and it's really flavorful and very cool. Is it a good idea? I can't say yes, because Terminators are terribly inefficient compared to Strike Squads. And as a huge fan of Terminators, it saddens me to say that. That doesn't mean I'm going to start running Strike Squads. Just means I'm going to be sad that that my Terminators aren't the top boys that I want them to be. But that's all right. Points always balance out, and it'll come back around in Terminator's favor some point soon. I'm certain about that. Maybe not today, but I don't think it's good. You're going to have a lot of bodies that are tough to shift with anything strength 4 or lower, but you're investing so many points in Terminators. It's hard to recommend them, which makes me sad. But I do love them, and I will always continue painting them because Grey Knights are the only chapter who have enough suits of Terminator armor to outfit literally everybody. So why the hell would you ever run anything except Terminator armor? If everybody has a suit, give everybody the suit of Terminator armor. It's so cool. I don't understand. Terminators might be the coolest facet of 40k, in my opinion. Guess I'll have to buy a Strike Squad then. Well, let's chat about that for a minute. It depends on if your goal is to like play the best army possible and win as many games as possible, or if your goal is to build a force that you really like and that you feel happy about and that you love seeing on the table and that you have a fun time with. Um, for me, that's the reason I play the game. That's the reason I build and paint and everything. I just love to see cool little guys that I really care about run around the table, shoot guys, get shot, blow each other's brains up. It's great. And I don't honestly care if strike squads are better. I'm just not a big fan of strike squads. Um, and that's okay. Like, if I wanted to play just the best thing, I'd be playing a different army. I'd probably be playing Drukari or fucking Admech or Harlequins, Matthew, if you're there. He'll fight me now. He'll argue against Harlequins being exceptionally good. Mag has a backpack, so you can also do interceptors. They're super hot. Interceptors are real good. I love interceptors. It's nice. I like interceptors because I like interceptors rather than strike squads because interceptors very clearly fill a different role than Terminators do. They're fast. They move around. They're great at grabbing objectives and harassing your enemy's back lines. So they can fill a different slot. The fact that strike squads take away from the slot that Terminators take makes me dislike them. Mentioned Drukari as good. That feeling when I lost with Drukari earlier tonight. Oh, sad. Yeah, I mean, a good general will outplay a good army. Not that you're a bad general, the Gremlin. Just somebody who's exceptionally good. It doesn't really matter what army they play. They will know the game and they will crush. And also sometimes, let's be real, dice game. Sometimes things just go south. Kins asked the real question: you got new dice, or are you sacrificing goat to the dice gods to fix your luck? I have not bought new dice yet. I have not bought new dice yet. I went to the our local game store at Mox and saw the dice on the shelf. None of them really called out to me, so I'm probably gonna put off buying new dice until the next time I actually play a game, like day of. Which that's smart. Just pick them up at the last minute, right? Um, but they only sell Chessex, and I know a lot of people have said Chessex are great, but historically, I've been betrayed many times by Chessex, so I'm hesitant to pick up yet another set. But we'll see. Imperator, it says on his leg. It's a good thing the Grey Knights kill everyone they encounter because their secret chapter and they write the name of their homeworld on their armor. Titan, Terra. I am a Grey Knight. Here is my address. So if anybody reads that, it's a good thing that later the Grey Knights just purge them. Join the custom dice gang. I looked it up. I looked it up. I found I forgot the name of the website, but folks who do custom dice, and unless you order them like in bulk, like to the point where like you'd be selling dice to other people, wow, they're expensive. For a set of 50 dice, it was going to cost me $100 and something. Moto Journey says for the new dice fund. Oh, thank you. I will put that towards I'll put that towards new dice. It was very considerate of you. I dumped most of my money on Terminators and 3HQs, but I guess I'll just see if everything works out next month when I finally play them. Again, if you can play Terminators right, they're still great. I want to stress that everybody talks about how Terminators aren't as good as Strike Squads, but they're still good. They're still costed well. They still they each have a force weapon. They each have a storm bolter, 2 up, 5 up, 3 wounds for what is it, 41, 42 points? 42 points. And they're all psychers. Like that's still good. It's still a really good unit. It's just not as bonkers as a strike squad. So you're not going to do bad because you have Terminators. You're just not absolutely maximizing the potential of the Grey Knights force, which is fine. We don't play this game to, or at least I don't play this game to maximize every opportunity. I play the game again for fun. Strong, and also let's be real, Grey Knights Terminators, coolest unit in the whole game. They just look so rad, and they can customize them so much. The only bad thing about GK Terminators is they can't have storm shields. Otherwise, they're excellent if a little expensive. Yeah, right? God, that was my pie in the sky hope that this edition we'd be getting storm shields. I knew we wouldn't because there's no storm shields in the kit, so of course they weren't going to give us storm shields. But man, that would have been so cool. Would have absolutely loved that. You know this guy's going to win because it just says Victor on his leg. Well, maybe that's his name. Maybe he's a Victor. No, his name is Kamon. It says so on his nameplate. All right, I'm going to take a pause from that and go back to the blue because we're ready for another coat. Get all the gold out of the brush. Maybe a little bit of brush soap. Okay. Go back to our blue. There we go. Dice train, Joseph says. Thank you. I appreciate that. It's $15 towards new dice now. So that's something. All right. Just a second coat of Techless. Techless? Techless. That's what this is. There we go. Lovely. Forgot to ask, did you get clarification on whether you can increase the range of psychic action? The TO had no problem with it. We looked at the rules. We looked at the rules together. We looked at the fact, and the TO had absolutely no problem with it. And I explained it to each of my opponents, and I none of them asked about the FAQ, but I explained it was a psychic action, and I mentioned that it wasn't an FAQ to all of them, and nobody minded. It didn't actually turn out to be tremendously game changing anyway, so. Wasn't a huge deal. I did use it to good effect in my recent game against the Emperor's Spears, which will be coming out next week, I think. But yeah, TO was fine. All of my opponents were fine with it, so we proceeded with it, and it was great. It was really fun. But again, I screwed up positioning with my agent, so I didn't actually get myself into the proper position to use it. Can someone remind me what he had to ask about? Oh, okay. Swagmaster Dank. A lovely name. So the banner of refining flame, the relic that you can give the Brotherhood Ancient, it allows him to perform a psychic action that does damage to enemies within 6 inches. There is a stratagem called Powerful Adept that allows you to extend the range of psychic powers by 6 inches. The question was, since that is a psychic action, does that count as a power that you can use Powerful Adept towards? The core rulebook implies so by saying that all psychic actions are treated as psychic powers for all rules purposes, but I wanted to clarify it with the TO. He said it was good. All right, that's too much on there, so we're going to let that dry before we go back at it one more time. Tomasi Brew Doctor, thank you. Dice for the dice god, pennies for the penny pot. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Oh, that's so kind. I'll tell you what. If this gets high enough, I will 100% spend that on custom dice. It was an alarmingly high price when I looked it up because I love dice with little one last blade symbols on the 6 of it would be really cool. Or you know what? Maybe knowing my luck, maybe the one last blade symbol should go on the 1. Then we'd see it more often, right? Ugh. There we go. All right, we're gonna let that layer of blue die for a bit. And again, the blue is the part of this that takes the longest. Once I've gotten through and this few layers of Techless are dry, it's gonna go much quicker. But in the meantime, we can continue doing gold. Have you thought about hosting games for 2 other players in report? I did that once. With a between Harlequins, Matthew's Harlequins, and Dustin's Eldar, and it was fun. It was a very quick game because Harlequins destroyed him. But we did that once. And it was a lot of fun. We have a Crusade campaign coming up, which I know it's been a long time coming, but it is still in the works. But we have a Crusade game coming up. And obviously, there's going to be games where I'm not playing in that one, but I am going to be filming every single game in the Crusade. So I will be filming much I'll be filming a lot that isn't that I'm not playing in it. And the Crusade games are going to be like, I'm pretty sure, nice and sweet. We've got we got a voice actor doing some. A friend of mine who's a voice actor. I didn't just go out and find one, but a friend of mine who's a voice actor doing the narrative for it, which is going to be really cool. We got some fun graphics. I got some story. Just waiting for all the details to come together because I want it to be like a fun big production. I'm thinking winter maybe end of fall, winter, but don't quote me on that. Gotta give me a Dreadknight. Yeah, Dreadknights are so cool. I used to not like Dreadknights. I used to be real against them, thinking they looked really dumb, but I have built 5 now, and I love them. Oh my god, do I have 5 Dreadknights? Wow, I do. Alright, let's see. Let me do a little skull up here to be gold as well. There you go. Technically speaking, the skull on the forehead should be silver. Just as far as the like Codex Astartes cares. Um, but Granite's not going to put silver on silver. Did you play the Hexfire missions yet? Still waiting for those bat reps. Yes, I have them all filmed. I have them all on my computer. There's just a lot of they're going to be they're going to be part of the Crusade campaign, if that makes sense. They're going to be like the lead up to it. And so Castellan Crow and Zentep Corazon, the Infernal Master, are going to be in our Crusades. But they're going to be like the Crusade prequel, if that makes sense. And I got the same like voice actor guy to do some lead up stuff for that. So yes, thank you for asking, Joseph. I've got the Hexfire stuff in the pipe. All right, where else are we going with gold? Did you find it hard to make a 50 power level Grey Knights list? Put one together and barely got 10 Terminators in it. Yeah, Terminators are so expensive as far as power level goes. My initial Crusade army is going to be very small, especially since I'm including an Inquisitor in there, which will be fun. Not that an Inquisitor is like a high PL unit, but it just cuts out even more points. My Crusade is going to be tiny. It'll be fun. I love Dreadknights. Really, any large model is fun for me. Yeah, big Dreadknights are. God. Can I just, for a moment, just say how much I love this hobby? It feels such a niche for me in my life. For years, I feel like I've been searching for something that would just, I hate to say fill time, but something that I could focus like my idle sort of artistic energy into. And 4 years ago, when I got into Warhammer, it ticks all those little boxes. My desire to write, my desire to do something colorful, that my desire to like create characters and little stories. I love that. And I never thought I'd enjoy painting as much as I did. But I mean, hell, we never know we're gonna like things. I ask any of my friends, and I am a very, very I'm a very, very I'm not a pacifist, but I'm a very, very like chill person. I don't like aggression. I don't like fighting. I don't even like competition in any form, which helps a lot with me being bad at Warhammer. But and if you'd asked me a couple years ago if I was going to be boxing 4 times a week when I'm 31, I'd tell you you're crazy. But I love boxing. I just absolutely love boxing, even though I'm a non-violent person. So you never know what you're going to like until you just try stuff. So it's important to just try things. Hoping for a new dice unboxing. It'd be a very quick video. Plus that power level though, demon hammers are technically free, right? I'm bringing Squad Gravitas or Bonk Squad into that list because of that. I think that's all the gold because I really like the suggestion. I'm going to make this black and white like the Adeptus Mechanicus symbol. Oh god, now I forget which water was the gold water. This is the gold water. Okay, great. We're gonna go back to one last layer of Techless blue. Get the paint off there. Alana Sutton. Oh, that's my wife. Thanks, wife. One last layer, the name of your new painting channel. Love it. Okay. We're gonna do one last layer of Techless real quick. Get some water in there because it's dried a little bit because it's a hot day for some reason. I don't know what's up. Feels like a GK Crusade Force would be small. Nothing screams elite of the elite like them, besides the golden banana helms, I guess. Is anybody familiar with oh nuts? What is the name of that book? Protectors of the Throne, I think. I forget what, but it's it's one of the books where it's a Custodes book, and at one point, some Grey Knights come to the Imperial Palace, and the Custodes, one of the Custodes thinks Like he sees the Grey Knights and he has this really cool thought about them that uh, the Custodes are like the image of what the Imperium was at one point, and the Grey Knights are the image of what the Imperium is nowadays. Which I really like that distinction because I feel like often people try to do like the who's better and who's more of the image of the Emperor, the Custodes or the Grey Knights, but they're both different aspects. The Custodes were they were like created specifically to serve the galaxy that the Emperor like foresaw, the galaxy that he wanted. The Grey Knights were created because the Emperor failed, because he failed to protect humanity from the horrors of the warp and needed the ultimate weapon against it. And I just love that observation that the Grey Knights are what is necessary for the Imperium nowadays, whereas the Custodes are not a relic of the past, but definitely like what the Imperium was at some point. All right, this is looking good. We're getting that last layer of Teclis on there. Love it. And then we gotta make sure we get the little guy's sword as well. It's gonna look cool with the two glowing swords. Okay. Okay, there we go. Cotiez equals coolest Inquisitor. Ooh, contentious. Are you saying the Custodes are the heroes we deserve, but the Grey Knights are the ones we need right now? Yes, exactly. That is precisely what I'm saying. Okay, cool. So there's a opaque layer of Teclis across the swords. Now what we're going to do is mix 50-50. We're going to mix, where are we? Teclis and Calidor Sky. Let's get a new paint rag. Come on, camera, focus. Focus now. There we go. Thanks for figuring yourself out. All right. So yeah, we're gonna do half Calidor Sky and half Teclis. And we don't need as much for this because we're only doing half the blade. Although I guess it's a big blade. All right. I'd say the Emperor is more of a flayed one. Fuck you, Moto Journey. For those who aren't aware, Moto Journey is Dustin, the Eldar player of our group. The game against him recently had a lot of perils of the warp, and a lot of him saying, "Oh haha, Monkey, you don't know how to use psychic powers, ha ha ha." Are you using a wet palette? Swagmaster Dank says, "No, because I am lazy. I bought one years ago and I used it once and was like, this is a lot of work." And I know it's not a lot of work, but I'm the kind of person who starts doing a thing and they get really, really, really set in their ways and never changed. You find something that works and you just do that forever. All right. So mixing the Calidor and the Teclis, 50-50. Lovely. This is Calidor over here so that I can use it later. But for now, we're just doing that. Okay. Then we're going to get water. Really thin it down. The Eldar suffered the ultimate perils of the warp. that is a strong point. Oops, paint everywhere. Okay. All right. Now, set that aside. So now what we're going to do is the classic like power sword style where it's going up one side and down the other. I'm just going to get the half and half mix of Calidor Sky and Teclis halfway up the blade. Too much paint on there. Just about to the end of that little divot there, I think. Okay, there we go. And the other side. There we go. So yeah, so I'm just doing this side, so just up to there, and then the other side just that way. Um, Make sure I actually get the whole thing. And do the same thing on the other side. Mirroring. Nice. There we go. And down. I can hear Ocho saying, "Man, I've been done 20 minutes ago with an airbrush." Mm. Oops, a Slanesh. King Duvall, hey, it's good to see you. Okay. We're gonna do the same thing with this guy's sword. I probably should be starting in his sword, honestly, just because it's a smaller canvas and it can, if something's fucked up, I can see it easier and it's gonna be less disruptive. But we're already committed. Half and half. Which side is okay? Little guy's sword is difficult to get at because it's behind the big one. Okay. Lead Belcher is such a good paint. Lead Belcher is a fantastic paint. I love it. Oh, yes, King Duvall. I have an airbrush. I am just not a fan of using airbrushes. They're great tools. They're absolutely great tools, and they make wonderful, beautiful miniatures. But it's just not my jam. All right. So you can. I don't think you can tell on the camera, but you can kind of tell there's a little bit of a difference there. What I'm going to do is dry this out a little bit, get a little bit of paint on to my brush, and just dry some of it out, and just do the littlest bit of stippling on the edge of it to kind of try to blend that in with the lighter blue, just on the edge of where the colors meet. It's not a big effect, but it helps in the end. Just a little faint dry brush stippling. Cool. Then we're going to move on to just pure Calidor Sky. Would you ever attempt a non-metallic metal Grey Knight? Maybe a character or a vehicle? If I'm being 100% honest, yes, but probably not yet. Non-metallic metal is an intimidating technique, and I have not graduated to it yet. I don't think. I'm certain that someday I will, just because as I grow as a painter, I'm going to keep trying new things and get some cool ideas. But I'm not there yet. I don't even know where I'd start. I don't even know how that would look. What color did you use for the mechanical struts under the silver armor? That was Iron Warriors. It was one layer of Iron Warriors and 2 layers of Agrix Earthshade. You let it dry and then throw a second layer on there. All right. So now I've got the pure Calidor Sky, and I'm going to go just to where, like almost up to where the edge of that before. So I'm going to be a little bit shorter down the blade, if that makes sense. So the mix goes there, and I'm going to start the Calidor there. God, I hope this ends up looking good. That's how you know a good painter, right? That level of confidence. Fuck, I hope this looks good. Richard Gray is excellent. Richard Gray does a fantastic job. Just a thin layer of Calidor Sky, and there we go, almost up to the same point. Stopping right there. Okay. And then the other side. Personally, not a fan of most non-metallic metal I've seen in miniatures. I agree. If you've ever, I think non-metallic metal looks awesome in photographs. It's if you've ever seen a mini painted in non-metallic metal in person, it's a weird effect on the table with actual light hitting the model. It's very strange. Um, I think it definitely works more as an art piece as opposed to like a gaming piece, if that distinction means anything. All right, same thing for the little guy. Dude. There we go. Oh, this is so hard to get at the sword this way. That's fine. We'll figure it out. Okay. Intense OSL, I agree with. Like some plasma gun effects are ridiculous. The entire model's just all dry brushed and lit up. It looks silly. Okay, let me do some damage control real quick. So I'm getting a little bit of the tech list that was still drying in the thing, just to continue that stippling effect that I talked about earlier, because I'm noticing the blending isn't the best right there. So I'm just gonna fix that up a little bit. Again, just a little tap, tap, tap between the layers with the with one of the two colors. And that really helps blend the two in. Okay. So we got a couple of different colors on there now, and you can kind of start to see the distinction on there. It'll make a lot more sense once it's all together. But that was pure Calidor Sky, so now we're going to do a mix of Calidor Sky and McCrag. Calidor Sky. The only OSL I've ever done that I'm proud of is a bit of white glow on a granite helmet and hands from the Iron Halo and Power Sword. Cool, I'd love to see that. Addy says, the issue with OSL is that often the rest of the model is painted with an overhead light source. A plasma gun at midday won't look that bright. That's true. A lot of people get really excited and overzealous about their OSL, which I don't blame them. It's an exciting little technique, and when you can start to mimic light sources, I bet that's a strong feeling of power, you know. But a little bit goes a long, long way. Okay, speaking of which, that is enough paint there. So that is Calidor Sky. So we're going to grab some McCrag. Boop, boop, boop. People ask if they can, but never ask if they should. That is the ethical dilemma of OSL right there. All right, mix. I love Citadel paints. I fucking hate these packages. They're terrible. You waste so much paint. And they snap weird. They're awful. Thin it out. Okay, ready to go on this one. Okay, so this is, again, same story. We're going to go just a little bit higher on the blade than we were at before. And I'm really noticing how my my small fast strokes are really fucking up the effect. So I'm going to try to be a little bit more patient with this and just do some longer strokes. It's the long strokes that really help you out, not the short, quick ones. I know how that sounded, and I apologize. And same back this way. Cool. Oops, I got a couple of magnets did nothing wrong. That's how you know you've made a 40K stream, when people start saying that. Here's a question. If you could delete one meme from the Warhammer community, what would you do? Like, what meme would you just absolutely get rid of and everybody would forget about it immediately? I know my answer. I'll wait for you guys to chime in before I say mine, though. You know what? Actually, I'll just say mine. Mine would be the Grey Knights using Sister's blood as uh, like protection against demons. That happened once in a non-canon piece of fiction that has been since been erased from every Grey Knight's Codex, and everybody brings it up every time I mention Sisters of Battle. They're like, "Oh, you want to cover your armor in Sister's blood?" No, it's stupid. It didn't make any sense initially, and it's God. I wish nobody would bring that up. I'd love to fight Sisters of Battle someday and not have somebody mention that stupid piece of outdated lore. I delete the Tau fish people meme. We are not fish people. It's true. Tau are like Tau have hooves. They're explicitly bovine. Gilliman in your brain for sure. Yeah, that's a fun little joke that went way too far. Okay. I don't know if you can tell, but like the effect is really starting to sell. I'm going to do the same sort of stippling thing just to even it out a bit. Oh, this technique definitely looks better on smaller swords, not the big ones. Remain confident. Remain confident in your ability. Okay, there we go. Now we're going into just Macragge blue for the next layer. And this I need even less paint because it's going to be smallest little layer. Okay. Perfect. All right. Sisters of Battle and Grey Knights are probably my favorite sub-factions in the Imperium. Space Marines are too cool too, I guess. Space Marines are cool. I've tried to start a Sisters of Battle army twice now, and each time I rapidly lose interest. I don't know why. This time even got around to airbrushing blue onto the bases of a bunch of them, and I just stopped caring. I know why this time around. They announced the Grey Knights Codex right after I started that army, and I got too excited to continue Sisters of Battle. All right, so even further up the blade, doing the Macragge. This is just Macragge, nothing mixed with it. And as you can see, we don't need very much because we're almost all the way up the blade. Nice. It's subtle, but that really helps the effect. And as soon as we get through this part of it, it's going to look a lot brighter. Okay. Your sword. Your sword. Okay. You can really see that distinction now. Gosh, this light. I need to get a better lighting system. Focus. 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 Damn it. How do I fix this? Someday I'll figure out how webcams work. Anyway, I guess we'll just wait for it to figure itself out. But as you can see, maybe, can you see? Oh, this is embarrassing. Refocus. There we go. All right. So as you can see, the effect is really starting to like sell on the blade there. God, you can't see because of the lighting. I'm going to buy a new light is the plan. I'll take a picture and post it to the YouTube page so that you can see it properly. Ah, there's the angle. There's the angle to catch it. So the effect is really starting to sell. One side is darker than the other. And now I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to take Techless blue. I'm going to mix it with ceramite. And I'm going to do like a 10-to-1 ratio. I'm going to do just this way to really brighten that one edge of it and really create a like stark contrast between those two. McCraig blue. All right. We're looking at Techless. So it's going to be like a 10-to-1 ratio, which is going to be tricky to parse out. Okay, 5 drops of Techless. Again, not a huge fan of Army Painter's paints, but God, I love these dropper bottles, and I really wish GW would switch to that. Then we've got this. You can put a sheet of tracing paper in front of a light to make a cheap diffuser. That's a good idea. Okay. Don't want to muddy up my white. Just one glob of white into this big ol' pile of Techless. That might even be too much white. Just curious, did you ever have any interest in AOS? I'm exposed to AOS all of the time, and there's something about it that just turns me off. I was mildly interested in Warhammer Fantasy back when, but then AOS's aesthetic just doesn't do it for me. It's too removed. It's too like extreme high fantasy, if that makes sense. Like it's too like van art fantasy. Like there's too much like high epic battle happening, and that happens in 40k obviously, but there's also a very like grounded grungy like dirty aspect to 40k that I really appreciate. Like there's space paladins fighting demons, but also there's Necromunda. There it goes again. Focus, you son of a bitch. There it is. But then there's also Necromunda. Like there's dirty like down to earth levels on uh 40k that Sigmar I don't think quite has. You can buy dropper tops to put. Yeah, you can. Wait, you can buy dropper tops specifically for the GW bottles. If that's true, that is a game changer. Okay, so we're gonna. This is gonna look really bright at first, but it'll fix rapidly. It's gonna be really distinct, and you're gonna be like, "Oh no, you've ruined the entire sword," but it'll fix. Just give it a moment. Be confident, my guys. That is how we succeed. Now, we're going to give it a moment. Do the other side. I hold my breath when I'm doing things like this. Does anybody else do that? Hold your breath while you're painting something delicate like that. Okay. Ooh, okay. And then we're going to do the same for you, my friend. Okay. And that side. And we should be good with this. So I'm going to give that a moment to dry. And then I'll readdress and make this work. And I'll show you how. Get me closer. I want to hit them with the smaller sword. I like to imagine, and it'd be cool if there was some sort of rule that when the like when the Dreadknight goes down, then the guy inside can jump out. He's got a sword ready to go. That'd be really rad. All right. So I'm gonna let that dry. I'm gonna put a bit more Techless into this mix I have here so that it becomes darker. I'm gonna do that same sort of blending, stippling thing that I was doing before. I hold my breath all the time, maybe trying too hard. Man, my coach, I don't know how much you guys care about boxing. Stop me if I talk about not 40K and you want me to switch gears back to 40K. But in sparring lately, my coach has been saying that I'm holding my breath, and I don't notice that I am because I'm calm, I'm relaxed. But he says I'm holding my breath while I'm doing it, and I just don't notice it. And I've been trying to figure out how to like amend that. And one thing he recommended, which I tried recently, was to do a 3 minute round just on bags and hold water in my breath the entire like hold water in my mouth the entire time and breathe only through my nose. And it forces me to breathe and it forces me to notice like my what my body and my mouth and my throat are doing while I'm punching. And it's exhausting. Um, but like I'm not even aware that I'm holding my breath while I'm doing things, and I don't notice. I trust him because he's a boxing coach. Uh, I trust him. So I need to work on that. So speaking of holding breath while focusing on things and not realizing it, if you're holding your breath while fighting, whistle. I like that. I like that a lot. Okay, so I've put a bit more techless into the mix there. Looking at it's not going to do much. What I'm going to do is get most of the paint off the brush. Just do a little bit of stippling between those, just to kind of get that to want to fade more. I probably should have done another like initial layer of techless because it's not super bright, which is unfortunate because it's the base coat. But that's what happens sometimes when you put over a black base there. There we go. There we go. Doing it again, holding my breath right there. Okay, so blending a little bit more, you can kind of see how that's working along there. It's still pretty stark, but it's much better than it was before. I'm going to do a little bit more of that on there. And this is the kind of thing that you can work up, let it dry, work up, keep on like seeing if this effect wants to be lighter or darker, depending on what you're doing. You can always go back and add more, add less. Boom. All right. Really liking how that's looking. Okay. Yeah, so the next step on this, it's already looking pretty distinct, which I like. But the next step on that, what I want to do is get just ceramite. And ceramite is a finicky paint. Is the kind of I never picture ceramite like the actual material in the fiction as white. Um, but ceramite is a finicky paint. It's super chalky unless you thin it down a lot, and then if you thin it down too much, it just runs everywhere. It becomes super watery. White's hard to work with. We all know that. Okay. Definitely need more fade from light to dark, but not bad. I agree. And that's something I'm going to clean up going through and just trying to stipple those mixed colors, just letting it dry for a moment, figuring out figuring out what it wants to be right there. But at the moment, what I want to do, get a nice dry brush of white. We're going to put this just on the very end of the blade, just on the lighter side. So there's barely any paint on there, just a little bit like that. And then the opposite down where the blue meets, just a little bit of white, not much, enough to draw the eye and make you go, ooh, it's sharp and hot. Monument Hobbies titanium white. I'm always in the market for a new white. Whites and blacks I like to spread out from GW paints on. I'm not married to their whites and blacks. There we go. That's too much. Push that back a bit. Just a little bit to get that glow. Lore-wise, what are Four Swords actually made of? You know what? I'm not actually sure what the metal is, but the reason they glow is because of the psychic energy being pulsed through them. That's actually a good question. I'm certain on Lexiconum they'll say exactly what material Grey Knight's Force Swords are made out of. Okay, just a little bit on the edge there. Okay. Have you ever tried high pigment canvas white? I have never tried it. The only paints I've really experimented with are Army Painter, Citadel, and Tamiya. And I've only done a little bit of Tamiya paints, and I love Tamiya paints. Just out of curiosity, how do y'all deal with orcs who take a lot of transports? I played an orc player who takes a lot of transports, but my shooting doesn't do enough. And if I'm in range of psychic, I'm too close. Agreed. Orcs are tough. I haven't faced the new orc codex yet. I've only faced the old orc codex. And stormbolters were how I got rid of orcs back then. I do not know how I do that nowadays with T5 boys. Okay. So, like I mentioned, I'm going to take some more of this halfway color between the techless and the thin techless. I'm going to just do a little bit more of this, make it a little bit darker. Like it. There we go. Same with this side. Okay. I'm really liking how that's looking. All right. A little bit of this up here, though. Kind of lighten that white just a little bit, or darken that white just a little bit. It's a little too pointy for my taste. There we go. Cool. Now, my favorite part of this, I don't know why, but I always really enjoy it. Get some white on the edge of the brush, spin it, get most of the pigment off, and then we can just go up the side and make it sharp. I really like this effect. You just drag it up the side like that. Very, very soft. Yeah. This is as I mentioned, my favorite part of doing the Force Swords. I just really love how this, it really makes it feel like there's like a nice, like cutting edge on the side of the blade. Just a dry brush, doing a really nice fine line down the side. Oops, and we fuck it up right at the end there. But that's all right. We can go over with some Calidor Sky again. Or McCrag Blue. And then doing the same for the little guy. Can't neglect him and his beautiful Force Sword. All Force Swords, big and small. Lovely. Cool. All right, how are we talking about orcs? Okay, so now this is the tricky part for me always. That same effect that I just did down the sides right there. Hold on, let me get a little bit of McCrag and clean up the edge of that blade real quick, where I got the white on it. So this is always the tricky part for me. Ideally, in an ideal situation, uh, we'll get a nice white line down the center of it as well. But that is real tricky. So I'm gonna take my time with this. I'm gonna unfocus on you guys for a minute while I really, really try to nail down that tiny, thin white line on the edge there. Why are we talking about Wraithbone? I almost saw your last battle report. Thank you for almost watching. I almost appreciate it. All right, gonna get some white. This is gonna be tricky. So I'm gonna hold my breath, Let's draw up the side of it. Boom. Whew. All right. That's probably the cleanest one of those little lines I've ever done. Love it. Okay. Now for the back side. Oh boy. Very gentle. Oh, and the paint dried on the brush. Of course. Okay. Let's try again. That's not good enough. Oh boy. There we go. That's less clean, but still real good. Still real proud of that one. Silver and red quartered gray knights. You mean instead of silver, Brother Tobias? I'm gonna do a little bit of cleanup down here. Don't want that too white. Okay. Do you think the back on TOC was a huge nerf? Oh, tide of convergence. Personally, I don't, as it's per unit, per phase, and it isn't if I hit. Yeah, I can't imagine a situation in which I was honestly dealing more than 6 mortal wounds. Like if I'm, let's just say for 4 swords, if I'm swinging and getting more than 6 sixes to wound with 4 swords, I'm also on top doing at least 6 like AP3 2 damage hits. Whatever I'm hitting is dead anyway. Okay. Oops, we forgot the blade on the little guy. If your big brother got line up the side, then you absolutely need one. It's only fair. God, that white dries so fast, and it dries in the bristles, and it's I hate it. There we go. Not bad. Not bad. Okay. Now to use my fancy, super old brush paint just to try to get all that white out of there because the white just wants to stay in. Okay. But yeah, barring going back up and just trying to like clean up the blending on that blade, that's pretty much it. Uh, and nowhere am I. God, I can't get a good angle. I'll post a picture later, but nowhere am I. I'm not going to claim this is the best method for doing a 4 sword, but it delivers a very like convincing, very like evocative look relatively quickly. This is a big one, so it couldn't go down fast. Man, I can't get the angle proper on it. But big fan of these. I'll take a proper picture and post it. Baby Care is not quite ready for battle, 7th column. I got a lot of detail work to do, but I appreciate your enthusiasm there. All right, we're going to go back to the golds. That's the plan now. A lot of people on the GK page got really sad about it, but I agree with you. Personally, adding a chappy with litany can still overcome your mortal wound fixes law. That's true. It's not a big deal. I mean, if I'm gonna be 100% honest, I forget that of convergence often anyway. All right, let's go back to golds. We did our gold. We're gonna switch it up. I'm gonna go to Screaming Bell. Do you want to do Screaming Bell? No. We want to do the other brass color that I have, which is called Brass Scorpion. That's right here. Why are Dreadknights not considered battle suits? That is a very good question. I am hoping that the reason is because battle suits are like the keyword battle suit is going to be phased out soon. Because it just sucks for Tau, the battle suit keyword right now, because it just means Tau vehicles essentially can't shoot while they're in combat, nor does fly still work the way it used to. So battle suits get tagged and are just sort of done. They can't do anything for the rest of the game. Hopefully the battle suit rule is just going to go away, or they're going to add some cool rules to it. It is strange that the Dreadknight, being what it is, doesn't have the battle suit rule. I wonder, do the Paragon Warsuits have the battle suit rule or no? Or the battle suit keyword? Mm-hmm. All right. So I've taken care of all the little gold bits already. So I'm going to go through with the brass scorpion, which is one of my favorite metallics, and figure that out. They have the Paragon Warsuit keyword, but they don't have the Battlesuit keyword. Very interesting. All right. Move all this. Get that out of the way. Give me some room to paint. It isn't a suit. It's a harness. Ah, of course. So he's infantry is what you're saying. If it's a harness. So I'm going to start here. Just because I like how this always looks when I'm finished with it. Adding the metallic onto the... come on, focus. I thought that would work. Oh, it did work. Adding the metallic to the hilt really makes the rest of the sword sort of stand out as like, oh, hey, I'm done. So I'm excited to see how this looks when it's on there. Cavalry, maybe. I mean, it'd be cool. We are knights, right? I saw someone the other day mention that Grey Knight paladins are the only paladins in any fiction that can't take shields. Like paladins in most fantasy settings are like renowned for their shields, and Grey Knight paladins can't take shields. You can sort of get them to a simulacrum of a storm shield nowadays with sanctuary and armored resilience, but you're really reaching at that point, and you have to have somebody else around them to give them sanctuary. So I guess you're investing a lot in it. But you could, with Sanctuary, get them that 4-up invuln, and then Armored Resilience gets them that +1 to their armor save. It's essentially a Storm Shield. There we go. See, it's starting to look real cool. Big fan of that. And the Warding Stave, yeah, but that's only in shooting, and you got to spend CP for it. I'm not a fan of Warding Staves anymore, which is unfortunate. They were so cool. Adding that extra invuln in melee. Okay. To be very careful to avoid all of the fancy work I've done on the Force Sword. I would hate to fuck it up now. A squad that just escorts Drago would be so cool. That was one thing I genuinely expected from this new codex. I expected Paladins to have the bodyguard keyword because most of the time when they are drawn out of the Hall of Champions, it is specifically to like act as bodyguards for a Grandmaster going into the field. Most of the time, they can't be asked to leave Titan. When they do, it's a big deal. So I was really hoping they were going to get the bodyguard rule. That would have been fun, having them wander around with one of my Grandmaster Nemesis Dreadknights. I hate playing named characters. I agree with you. I have Crow, I have Drago, but when you play a named character, the game is no longer yours. Suddenly, it is that character's game. Every now and then it's fun to take them, but for the most part, I avoid them. My brother, to avoid that problem, he just takes Arion and renames him Matsia, the Lord of Twisting Truths. So he just uses Arimon's data sheet for his own personal character, which is a great idea, honestly. Should do that with Samandus sometime. That'd be fun. I'm sad about Paladins. I find them hard to play. Now I just use them as self-sufficient 3-man MSUs. That's true. Being able to take them as a 3-man is awesome. And having a couple of different, like having a choice of powers, I feel is really good for them. I haven't actually fielded them with the new Codex yet, and I should. I will do that in my upcoming game I have soon. I'm bringing 10 paladins along, which will be fun. There we go. Starting to come together. See what I'm saying? It really adds to the, I don't know, adding this little bit of metal around here really makes the whole power sword like thing stand out more, I guess. It makes the whole thing sort of feel authentic. Would you try having a Brotherhood champion as your warlord? Interesting. I don't know. The Brotherhood champion lost so much of his flavor and potential in the new codex. I honestly don't see a reason to run one. Maybe as just like a cheap HQ choice if you really just want to have a platform to cast some of the Dominus powers, but I don't know. Can you guys think of any good reason to bring a Brotherhood champion? I guess he only takes up one slot in a Land Raider. Maybe. Do you have any strong opinions on any other Imperium factions? Yeah. Yeah, I do. I'm a big fan of Guard, and someday I'm going to start a Guard army. Uh, it harkens back to what I was saying earlier about AOS. I love that there is a faction in 40k that is just normal people trying to fight. And the fact that like you have that perspective, the guardsman's perspective, in this universe where chainsaw wielding demigods fight flaming sex demons. I love that you just have that down to earth like perspective from it. So I would start Guard one day. I think that the Guard are a really, really fun sort of self-inserting faction. And also just I've never played a horde army, so it'd be really fun to just have a ton of bodies on the field. And because it's Imperium, I could still bring Inquisitor Valencia in a Guard list. I think that'd be really fun. That is one reason I stick to mostly only Imperium armies, is I want to technically be able to bring Valencia. My Inquisitor is, by the way, that's who Valencia is. Inquisitor Valencia. I want to technically be able to bring her in any army I own, aside from my Tau, obviously. A Brotherhood champion can be in a Rhino. That's true. You know, that's a fair point. Brother champion can go in a Rhino, Razorback as well. Maybe throw him in alongside like a Strike Squad or a Purifier Squad. They're not they're not useless. I just can't figure out for the life of me why we'd use some of our limited HQ slots on them. I guess it's a buff for even then. I don't know. It'd be interesting to see. I bet you could build a really fun Brotherhood champion warlord. Have him give him Hammer of Righteousness for that +1 to wound. Um, Maybe give him first to the fray to encourage his getting into combat and everybody around him. It could be fun. That might be a fun list to build. I have a Brotherhood champion. I just never use him. Deathcore of Krieg for life. I'll post my Tau question again now that you brought up Tau. What do you think of running Tau Sasea Sept and Tech into the -2 to being charged with the Relic and 2 units of single XP9s? Honestly, I am a terrible Tau player. I have a Tau army, and they're really fun, but I get bodied every time I bring them because I am so used to an army that is entirely the opposite. Melee focused elite psychers. And so every time I play Tau, I just don't know what's happening with them. And there's so many little like war gear options and things that I always forget that kind of stuff. But genuinely, I think keeping yourself out of melee is excellent with Tau. So I think that would be wise to get the -2 to charge. You could also throw in some what are they? There's the drones that give you the drones that give like a -D3 to being charged, right? You can set them up. Grav inhibitor drones, I think is what they're called. Those would be really rad. I haven't ever honestly the biggest deterrent for charging whenever I've fought Tau is Overwatch. It sucks taking a fusion blaster to the face and they don't have to spend anything to do it. But I mean, you're aware of that. You are Tau, so you know all about how that Overwatch works. There we go. It's starting to look good. I'm getting that brass in there. Look at that. Okay. Yeah. So I know you like to take Land Raiders even though they aren't the best. So what would you change to make them better? Ooh, that is a good question. I love that. Everybody's immediate response is give Land Raiders an invulnerable save. I think that's a lazy answer. Uh, just giving them a better stat isn't enough, I think. I would give them the assault transport rule, the one that impulsors have, because uh, the Land Raiders have that like front boarding ramp where you slide out. And so I 100% think that Land Raiders should be able to move forward and then deposit their payload. I think Black Templars can do that actually, but if uh, if Land Raiders could do that, I think they'd be a lot more viable. Being able to move your Terminators upfield much quicker like that and get them out and get them on an objective and get them start casting and shooting. Like even if they couldn't charge afterwards, that would still be awesome. I think a special rule like that would be really, really good for them to make it so they have some advantage over other transports. Because at the moment, why? Why would you ever take them? They're so big and they're so expensive, and they just die so quickly because they just pop. Because everything T8 doesn't mean enough. Um, but yeah, honestly, it's I want to give them some other rule like that, not just somehow make them more survivable by giving them like a -1 damage or something like that. Although I wouldn't be opposed to that. I'd love having a tougher Land Raider, but primarily I'd want them to be more like assault transports. Okay, your little sword's looking good. Oops, almost. Okay. I like a 6 XB8 veteran Cadre Blob with cyclic ion blasters. Those cyclic ion blasters are real good. I found a fun kit bash for them online. Built them a little while back and made a bunch out of the flamers and the plasma guns. You glue them together and chop them up, and they actually look pretty cool. But yeah, the cyclic ion blasters are great. My luck, though, I kill my entire squad with them whenever I do that. But again, I don't play Tau enough. I should bring them back on the channel. That'd be fun. Maybe get someone else to play my Tau versus my Grey Knights. That might be a fun matchup. Having the old assault ramps of move, get out, and charge would be awesome. That would be insane if you could charge after that. That would be so cool. People would start bringing Terminators a lot more, I think. They might even have a leg up over Blade Guards. Blade Guards? Blade Guard. Single Blade Guard. The plural of Blade Guards is Blade Guard. That's very strange. Okay, so we've got those bit of brass done. Where are we going next? I think we're going to do brass down the... No, I'll save that. I'll wait on that. Where are we going next, boys? Oh, shoot. I got some blue on there. Oh, I've got blue all over my hands. I have to touch that up later. So I'm not going to turn this little cog symbol brass. We're going to do that black and white. That's going to be fun. It's going to be interesting. I really like that idea. Oh, I want to get the end of the flamer. That's right. I want this to be that brass because we're going to dirty it up and make it look like it's been heated metal and all soot stained. Getting a lot of Tau chatter in here. What are we establishing? 15 Blade Guard Dark Angels Deathwing Army. I hate that. I hate that and would never want to play that. That sounds like a bad time. Blade Guard, the only thing that could make Blade Guard more infuriating, which Blade Guard, I'm going to be 100% honest, might be my least favorite unit in the entire game. The only thing that would make Blade Guard more infuriating is permanent transhuman physiology on them. Deathwing. I am happy that Dark Angels are going through a period of power right now, because for a long time in eighth, Dark Angels were just a joke with how bad they are. So I'm really happy for Dark Angels players that they're enjoying some time at the top of the meta lists. It sucks when your army's in a bad place for so long. Yep. This worked before. Gonna work now? Hey, I don't know why that works, but it does. If they term Doomglaive Dreadnoughts with Psycans, that would be cool too. Yeah, I'd love that. That'd be really fun. The Doomglaive Dreadnought, I bought a couple of them, and then you can use them as multi-meltas, I guess, but it's not the same. Doomglaive was a fun model. Okay. Let's get some more water in there. I don't know. I agree that Tower in a bad spot right now, but the meta will shift around, and eventually Tau will be good again, and then we'll all be complaining about how Tower overpowered, etc., etc. I remember the years where in 8th edition, when Space Marines were just the worst army in the game, and nobody played them, and it was a joke how bad Space Marines were. And everybody was like, GW needs to fix this. GW needs to make Space Marines good. They're the chief faction in the game, and they suck. And then they made Space Marines Codex 2, and Space Marines became unstoppable. And now everybody's just like, Space Marines, obviously they're so powerful. They're GW's favorite faction. Space Marines are always overpowered. It's weird. It's like most of the community does not remember the first 2 years of 8th edition, when Space Marines were fucking terrible and everybody was really sad about it. It's weird how the community's whole zeitgeist shifts so rapidly and everybody forgets. But I mean, what are you gonna do? People focus on the moment, which is fair. Okay, let's get some more brass on our palette. It's all dried up. Our task scheduled for December. Oh, hey, nerd with a bow. I think I heard Tower predicted for January. I wouldn't mind a December Tower release. That'd be fun. I'll certainly bring them back on my channel as soon as I get a new codex for them. That'd be really cool. Okay, let's do this. Custodes versus GSC is also what I hear about in November or about December, and that would be rad. I love the idea of a Gene Stealer Colts outbreak on Terra. That would be a fascinating story development. I hope the Custodes don't go up to 4 wounds. That would make me very sad. I don't know why that would make me sad, but it would. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Joseph, what irks me most about losing the +1 to cast is the Thousand Suns got our +1 to cast. It's like they just took it from us, which makes me sad. My brother misses the +6-inch range to psychic powers. And honestly, I wouldn't miss our +1 to cast so much if all of our powers didn't go up as well. I'm failing a lot more psychic tests these days than I normally do, and I'm failing them by 1, which it feels like our powers went up in price, and then we also got the +1 taken away, which is unfortunate because maybe it's not great to rely on psychic powers, but definitely knowing I have those psychic powers in a game, it helps me tremendously. And if I can't rely on psychic powers, then that's a whole aspect of my army that I can't build a strategy around, which sucks. But yeah, like the Death Guard game I've got coming up tomorrow on the channel. Oh boy, there's some bad psychic rolls in there. Just tune into that because that is when you see me at probably my most depressed as a psychic player. Oof, it was a bad time. It was a good time. It's a good game, and Aaron's a good guy, and it was a fun match. But oh boy, it's true that we can cast multiple of the Sanctic now, which is a really nice buff. I like that a lot. We can cast Sanctic powers multiple times. We cannot cast the other power, the Dominus powers, multiple times. So Gate of Infinity, Sanctuary, those can only be cast once, and they can only be cast by characters. Which, I think bookkeeping wise, it's good that like troops units and stuff can only cast one power. But I miss putting Gate of Infinity on my Terminators. And then yeah, for those of you who didn't hear, I am going to be sitting down with another YouTuber, Grey Knight Dude, sometime in the next few weeks, and we're gonna chat about how we feel post honeymoon phase of the Grey Knight's Codex, which will be good. It'll be good to sort of unpack a lot of this. Again, I don't dislike it. Love the new Codex. It's just different, and in some ways, the differences make me sad, but that's okay. Rules change. What are you gonna do? Play 5th edition again, I guess. I think that's all I want for the brass for right now. I'm going to add more brass touch-ups depending on where we're going. But at the moment, I'm liking how that's looking. Guard really need a new Codex. Agreed! Don't we have the ability to cast the same RZ? Rapiers or Sword Brothers, he says. That's a tough call. Sword Bearers are real good, but you're going to focus on a vehicle list if you're doing Sword Bearers. I like infantry, so I guess he says painting a vehicle at the moment, but I mean, this is an infantry vehicle. It's a guy with it's a vehicle with a sword. It's basically infantry. Okay, what am I doing next? Let's do which direction are we going? Let's do red. We're gonna do red next. One moment, everyone. I'm gonna switch up my paint water again. I would love some tea. Thank you, babe. Wife's gonna make some tea. If it has feet, is it really a vehicle? I mean, is a mech a vehicle? I had this conversation with a friend of mine the other day, John, actually, at Beers and Battles. We're talking about what makes a vehicle a vehicle. A vehicle needs to be operated, we decided. So a robot is not a vehicle, but a drone is a vehicle because it's being operated by someone. But just a robot, like an autonomous robot, is not a vehicle. This was our conclusion as educated men. If it doesn't explode, is it a vehicle? Well, I mean, this one is technically a vehicle and doesn't explode, so you tell me. Well, I made that worse. I just had to clean this off, and it just made that a lot worse. That's fine. All right, we're gonna do red now. Red is another color that I always love painting, but you got to have your own dedicated water cup for it because red, everything gets red if you start doing red. All right, some reds that I use, Corn and Wazdaka. Corn for the base, Wazdaka for the highlights, assuming I want to highlight anything, or for like artistic reds, if that makes sense. Do you use a wet palette? Phil Gagnon asks. Gagnon? Gagnon. No, I have a wet palette. I've used it in the past. I've found it exceptionally useful, but it takes a lot of time, and I like my hobbying to be like quick and easy and dirty. It's something I really enjoy, and if I put too many like barriers between me and hobbying, like setting up an airbrush or setting up a a wet palette, or I don't know. I don't want too many rituals like between me and hobbying, because makes that makes the barrier between me and working on my hobby higher. And if I just have everything sitting there and I can just sit down and start out, if I can just sit down and start painting. Oh, thank you, babe. My wife just brought me tea. If I can just sit down and start painting without having to worry about all the like the tools and everything, I love that. Because again, I paint primarily because I love it. Do you have a mental lore mechanical rivalry with the other big elite Imperial army, like Custodes or Deathwatch? I've never fought Custodes, and I would love to fight Custodes. I think we have a local Custodes player. I've never seen him, if he exists. I've never met him. I would love to play against Custodes. Um, I don't think I have any sort of my guys have any sort of rivalry with the Death Watch. My Brotherhood in particular. So my like fictionalized my version of the Seventh Brotherhood, the Exactors. We have a tenuous relationship with the Inquisition, and so more Astartes, who are also working with the Inquisition, we have no problem with them. They're just other tools at the Inquisition's disposal. And because they're Astartes, we also feel like we have some sort of like commiseration with them. I imagine my guys would get along really well with the Death Watch, actually, now that I think about it. But Custodes, I don't know. I'd be interested to see how Samandus and my various characters would interact with the Custodes. Stormbolter's not getting even a minor buff. The new Codex is rough. They're like bottle rocket launchers compared to their melee weapons. Yeah, I would have preferred if Cybolt ammunition had stayed the same, just +1 strength and AP to Stormbolters for a CP. Would have loved that. Also, here's another like the edges filed off kind of thing with the new Codex. Cybolt ammunition used to turn our bolters into psi weapons for a moment, which was really cool because then you could interact with um, a bunch of different rules, like some of the tides and stuff that focused on psi weapons. Suddenly, that one unit of Grey Knights had 40 psi bolt shots that they were shooting out. And it was really cool, and you could get some like strength 6 AP 2 damage storm bolters if you played your cards right. I loved that. It's a small thing that I wish they had kept in the new codex, letting our stormbolters momentarily become psi weapons when we loaded them with psi bolt ammo. But oh well, things change. Things change, and we're gonna get used to this. I'm gonna find some things that I love about this codex, and then it's gonna change and go to a different codex, and blah 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 ad infinitum. I miss Ritual of the Damned abilities. So do I. I miss dynamic insertion like cray. That was probably one of my favorite stratagems. I never saw other people using it in battle reports and whatnot. I loved dynamic insertion. Being able to throw a unit of Terminators onto an objective that your opponent thought they had covered, and then you have OBSEC Terminators surprise 3 inches away. That was awesome. I absolutely loved that. And then the obvious assassin, like apothecary assassin, that I would do. Good night, Kenny. Turkey pipes. It was good to see you, man. Thanks for hanging out. He doesn't even play Warhammer, so all this was just all this was alien to him. The Seventh Brotherhood has had a lot of interaction with the Eldar. What's y'all's normal headcanon thoughts on why they get into conflict? So Dustin, his Eldar, we have a long-standing rivalry, our guys, and we had a campaign a couple years ago where his autarch Ackle Rain and Samandus had to team up for a while to face off against Graham's Zinch forces. It was really fun writing little short stories and stuff about how our characters had to team up, and then the Inquisition being like, Samandus, you're getting awfully friendly with those Xenos, and Samandus being like, I'm fighting demons, fuck off, I'll use whatever tools I need. It was really fun. But ultimately, specifically Dustin's Eldar, they're like a cult of Morai Heg, I believe. They all want to die. They think that they need penance and their way of doing that is engaging in battle and slaughtering as much as they can. Uh, and they come into contact with the Grey and conflict with the Grey Knights a lot. And I imagine it's like, oh, what's the word? Lingering like animosity between Samandus and Aquarain from the wars that they fought together against the Tyranids and the forces of chaos. Man, that was a fun campaign. I'm excited to get more campaigns onto the channel, more narrative stuff. If you killed an old One Eye with Inner Fire, that's awesome. I love that. That was a fun trick. Everyone hated it, but it was a fun trick. Inner Fire was a rad spell. I missed that one too. There's a bunch of stuff from Psychic Awakening that I miss. But again, what are you gonna do? Okay. How do you deal with Dark Eldar now? I only have one Dark Eldar player in my local group. And he is much more focused on like the what's the sex, drugs, and rock and roll aspect of Eldar than the winning aspect of Dark Eldar. He plays the game and he plays the game well and he knows his army really well. But to him, winning is entirely secondary to just having a fucking rock and roll in time. And that's games with him are always excellent. So I haven't actually come up against like super hard Dark Eldar yet. I have fought against competitive Admech, and that sucks. But that's the only one I've really faced of the new big boogeymen in the current meta. Orc players everywhere are just fun. I can't think of any like. I think orc players probably enjoy 40k more than anyone, just with their kit bashing and their paint jobs and their lore and their dumb, silly army rules. I think orcs might be have the most fun of all factions. Okay. Project for this weekend is done. 15 interceptors, 5 strikes, and finished crow well, except for the base. Bases are tricky. Bases are tricky. Just make sure they all match across your army. That cohesion is very important. I wish I had made my exorcists have the same bases as my Grey Knights so that all of my forces had the same bases. I don't know why I wish that, but that would have been fun. Having everybody have the same scheme. Look, we're all in the same battle together. Fun. Okay. Ugh, red is always such a finicky color to paint. I don't know why. I always have such a salty time with it. It just makes me upset. I'm gonna do a bunch of different layers, and then we're gonna end up putting the wash on it anyway, and it's gonna tone it down. It's not gonna look like the color we wanted. Mo Crumpin, no problems. I think most orc players would agree with that entirely. Okay. Almost done with this weapon casing. Gotta be careful not to hit that silver that we worked so hard on. OLB, how do you feel about the GK Crusade rules? The Demon Nemesis is such a cool idea, but restricting it to a random chance and also only cast once seems really restrictive. Yeah, I have a video next week where I'm talking about the Crusade rules specifically, so I'll answer those questions then. But summary, they're fun. They're very specific, and I wish they had been a bit more broad. And there's some things that I wish they'd included with them. it's very specific, and it's not specific like the Dark Eldar. I think have some of the coolest Crusade rules so far. They the whole collecting like slaves, bringing back to Carmarod, building your own points, not giving a shit about winning games or not. You're just trying to like do your best to like take as many slaves as possible. That's awesome. They do a really great job. They did a really good job with that. The Grey Knights ones are just, it's very specific. And if you happen to do a Crusade campaign and there happens to be no Chaos players, you're shit out of luck. Like, that's it. You just can't use a bunch of your rules. So that's my biggest complaint. But I am doing a video. It's going to come out next week about my thoughts on the Crusade aspect of the Codex in particular. Oh, I wanted to do one of his knee pads red as well. That seems fun. I've made all the weapon casings for like special weapons in my army red. I saw somebody did black weapon casings for their special weapons, and I loved that. And I kind of wish that all of my special weapons across my army had black casing now, just because there's a, I don't know, but you always look, grass is always greener, right? You always look at somebody else's army and you're like, man, it's that meme of the guy looking over his shoulder at the girl as she passes by, and you're just like, damn, that army looks better than mine. I wish mine looked like that. But I'm sure people look at, I mean, if somebody always looks at your army and thinks the same thing. Man, that guy has such a cool idea or a cool theme or a cool scheme or cool conversions. Man, I wish I had thought of that. Everybody always wants the other thing. I don't like to paint box art, so my GK are going to be gleaming white plate armor and blue glowing runes. Ooh, I love that. That'll be fancy. It's gonna be tricky to paint. It's a lot of white. White is not one of my more favorite colors to paint. Okay. Looking good on that one. Speaking of which, this is going to be red, this kneecap, and then the other one is going to be white. Started doing my special weapons with lead belcher and a crimson wash over a dark metallic. Oh, that's interesting. I bet that would look really fascinating. I don't know if it would pop very well, but I bet it would look really interesting. Okay. Okay. There we go. Well, I'm kind of hitting the point of exhaustion on this for the evening. We made some really good progress. This guy's starting to come together. I'll take a picture of that that force sword and post it on the YouTube so you guys can see that much more clearly. But yeah, I think I'm gonna call it a night there, my friends. As I said, I'm not one for huge, long painting sessions. I like this kind of like hour, 2 hour mark. It allows me to like get something done, whether it's detailing or shading or just like a base coat, and then I can feel accomplished about it. Come back at it the next day. I guess frequency is important for me. Thanks so much, guys. I'll get in my face real quick so I can say hello. Hello. That was a ton of fun. This way. There we go. That was a ton of fun. Thanks for hanging out, everybody. Yeah, I've got a battle report coming in the morning. I'm against Death Guard. Specifically, I'm against the Typhus Special Fleet. Terminus Est Assault Force. So check that out tomorrow morning. It's gonna come online at 9 o'clock. Thank you all for hanging out so much. It was a ton of fun. I'm gonna try to do more of these. I'm also gonna actually like work with like Streamlabs and stuff and actually try to get like graphics and a waiting screen and things like that. Thanks so much, man. Thanks, everybody. It's great to see you.